Great.
So I'm also going to be timing.
Okay, very good. So I'll get going. Tom and I did not cheat and compare notes on this, but I'm going to touch on many of the same themes that he just talked about, but I'm coming at this from an engineer's perspective. Just for your background, hello Michael, I am a structural and building envelope engineer. I've been practicing at Simpson, Gumpertz, and Heger for about 37 years. I think that I'm sort of preaching to the choir here at the Global Design Alliance about the virtues of integrated design. You've heard me proselytize about this for years, those of us who know each other. I think the major drivers for this have to do not only with complexity, but the fact that we have learned that we work and live and practice in a very siloed industry. This is an organization chart from a well-organized, efficient architectural office and design team from a book I found from the AIA in 1954. And you can just see, without going through all the graphics, how bifurcated and siloed everything is. We've tended to work in this paradigm where we have a 1950s paradigm, if you will, of efficiency and optimization, where we all go off with our specialties in some different corners of the design team and work to optimize in isolation our particular systems. I'm particularly, I'll use the term amused, but all of the consulting engineers in this arrangement are in that one tiny box over in the right-hand side there. You can see the kind of respect that our professions got in the eyes of the AIA back in 1954. But I think that we have learned that we can't produce higher performing buildings and eliminate the waste and inefficiency that we've come to recognize that are part of our processes by working in various silos. We can optimize our systems, but we can't optimize the system of systems unless we work together in a more collaborative way. And one of the problems I think the design profession faces is that we've become overly specialized. We all work in our world. I went to two very fine structural engineering schools in the 1970s. I didn't take a single course in architecture or design process. I think that's a shame, and it's a big problem, and it points to part of the problems that we have here. So I want to touch basically on four of the things that we're working on at Simpson, Gumpertz, and Heger to advance our practice to more integrated design. The one is our efforts to bring architects and engineers closer together. We need to understand each other better. We need to have an environment of mutual trust and respect to understand our vocabulary, where each of us is coming from. I want to produce structural engineers, for example, moving forward, that go through a different kind of educational process that I did, where I was educated in my own silo, only about things structural. These are some of the things that we're working at. I call this process of counteracting over-specialization as under-specialization. We're doing a lot of activities that are really engaging more with architects and try to understand their practice and hope that they will understand ours better. We're doing a lot of invited architectural lectures at SGH, and we reciprocate with those. We have a lot of our staff teaching at architectural universities. We're working on promoting industry educational reform through boards and so forth in architectural and engineering programs. And also we need more organizations, professional organizations, that bind the disciplines of engineering and architecture together. You architects have AIA, we structural engineers have ASCE, the mechanical engineers have ASME. How many organizations do we have that cut across all of these disciplines? There aren't very many. I can name them on, I think, one hand with some fingers missing. But perhaps the strongest advancement that we're making at SGH in this direction is to hire more engineers with both architectural and engineering training. We're hiring now more engineers with dual degrees in engineering and architecture, or perhaps an engineering major and an architectural minor, or engineers from architectural engineering programs. And this has been quite effective. One of our most recent hires is this gentleman shown here, Holger Ehring, who joined our New York office just this past December. He was, prior to joining us, he's Swiss. He was one of the lead project engineers for Santiago Calatrava. He is trained in architecture and structural engineering, and he really gets it. And he's worked on many of Calatrava's signature projects, and he's going to be helping us advance that practice in New York and elsewhere. So this can be quite effective. Collaboration, we talk about a lot. We have come in trying to institute collaboration at SGH to understand it's an overused and little understood cliche. But there are several elements to proper collaboration, one of which is you have to get the stakeholders in the room, all of the right stakeholders in the room and engaged in the dialogue. And then engage them in a process where you're working on the key words that we work on at SGH are ownership and alignment of what you're doing and how you're going to go about do it. So we've actually engaged an outside organization called the Collaborative Operating System to teach us and train us in collaborative processes. We learn nothing about this in engineering training, but these are extremely powerful procedures, and some of our staff who have been through this report really excellent results in helping project teams come together and actually leading project teams in a collaborative manner. The other thing that we're working on is bringing integrated engineering technologies under one roof. Most of you know us classically as a structural engineering and building envelope design firm, but we are broadening those capabilities, and over time we have broadened the structural components to response to extreme loads, performance-based design, things of that sort. Our building envelope work has morphed into heat, air, and moisture migration, and more recently into energy modeling. And just in the last year or so, we have been adding other capabilities in the areas of geotechnical and civil engineering. We've formed a fire engineering group and a very active group in material science that helps us with new materials and systems. We also are beginning to build a dedicated HVAC practice within SGH. So the notion here is to bring in under one roof integrated and collaborative engineering technologies to help serve the architectural profession. We're not looking to be architects, that's where we draw the line, but will we be adding other technologies over in the future? Perhaps. Come and touch base with me in 5 years or so. The last area that I want to touch on is the integration of design and construction. We are very much interested in new delivery systems, IPD, design, build, and so forth, and we're doing more and more of these projects as time goes on, but we're not looking to be key industry drivers in this area. The one area that we're working on is in the delivery of our products to the handoff with contractors and so forth in order to have a more useful interface and in handing off to contractors. We started an initiative last year that we call Smart BIM. I don't have time really to go into everything that Smart BIM is, but the notion of Smart BIM is that we want to be able to work off a central, if not BIM model, BIM database from which we can do two things. One is to use it as a basis for our analytical simulation models, for energy modeling, for structural modeling, etc., to be able to draw these through a common database, and then use that same database as a seamless and useful handoff to the contracting and the fabricating end of things. So the big vision here is, and this may not happen in my lifetime, but the big vision is this. You build the building in virtual space. You use analytical and simulation tools to exercise its performance in all respects. You optimize its design looking at value rather than simply lowest cost, but highest value. You optimize that, and then you hand the model off for construction. We've been working more, classically, most of us as designers in the BIM environment are using Revit. Turns out that most of the builders in the audience and others throw away our Revit models. They're not very useful. So we have been working towards producing our products in contractor and fabrication friendly media. We're starting to use Tekla now for our structural design projects. In the upper right-hand side, we're looking at very detailed envelope models, and we're using Inventor for very detailed envelope models. This is an example of a project we recently completed in Boston. It's, you can see a very free-form concrete and steel shell type structure. The concrete formwork was done by digital fabrication, as was the structural steel. And the last example that I want to show you here is some of our efforts in working at prefabricated construction. We've been working with a startup company in Massachusetts called Blue Homes that is using fully shop manufactured modular housing. This isn't your typical trailer park kind of construction. These are really beautiful structures. And the real breakthrough in terms of the design here you can see in the upper right-hand side is these are sort of origami-type structures that are folded up in the factory with this structural frame that hinges and unfolds and something. And you bring one or more modules to the site and unfold them. The modeling here is done in CATIA, and it's really quite spectacular. These are houses that we would live in. So just closing, I would say I'm really enjoying, and we're finding great leverage in our Global Design Alliance allies here. We're all looking, I think, together to change the world in a very fundamental way. I appreciate working with you. The speed of change, of course, is the big ticket. We have to keep our businesses going in the present while we're working towards the future. But it's been a great collaboration with all of you, and I look forward to more today and elsewhere. Thank you.
Thank you.